Hi everyone, BC Ridgefield here on behalf of BrightFunded. Let's take a look at the week ahead. Let's start by taking a look at the red folder news. Now, for me, the most important thing on this is all pointing to Wednesday. We look at the US markets, we have core CPI month on month, CPI month on month, CPI year on year. But the huge thing is here we have the federal funds rate decision. Now, off the back of the ECB cutting rates, the money's heavily towards the US keeping rates as they are, but obviously we do have that to come out. Yeah, that injects a lot of volatility into the market. For that, we have the FOMC economic projections, the FOMC statement, then followed up by the press conference as well. But obviously, for the remaining red folder news, let's not forget that we've got news affecting the European, Great Britain, obviously US, as we've mentioned, Canadian, Australian, and Japanese markets as well. Okay, so we're going to start with Bitcoin like we normally do. And again, this key level that we've been discussing at 69,000, that was the all-time high set back in November 2021, which had proved kind of key resistance here. Price had this deviation, we closed back below. And then we targeted the inefficiency, which is this gap down here. Now we had a really strong reaction here with this pin bar with a short nose or a bullish hammer candle. And then we've made a run on this level again. What I really like about last week's price action is that we've closed above this level now, and in doing so set this order block. So price is bullish on this scale, and we are definitely going to be looking for higher prices. Now, to get a bit more of a granular view on this, moving down to the daily, then the key thing here for me is looking at this gap that's currently holding price. So we see this daily fair value gap here. Now, while we're below it, we could see price correct lower, either to take out the price swing low or the one before that. We are starting to build some liquidity underneath these lows. Now, get a strong close above this level is what I'm really interested in. And now I think we make a move up here and absolutely start to make a go at the all-time high and get ourselves into price discovery. Now, looking at ETH, when we look at Ethereum here, this left a beautiful big move up here. Now, I've marked the key liquidity that I'm interested here on the weekly scale, which also transfers down onto the daily. But this weekly gap down here, which was our draw on liquidity, as we saw price start to correct lower, we now want to see if price is going to kind of have a slightly deeper correction into this before hopefully obviously stepping itself back into a bullish trend. Now, obviously, we're holding bullish market structure here, but it's very natural to see up to a 50% retracement on this. So we've got this level marked out, which we're going to now look at on the daily. And here we can start to build in some invalidations. So while this sits here and while price is below this daily gap, very similar to what we saw with Bitcoin, then I'm favoring short positions into these lows and possibly a little bit lower into here. However, again, if we close above this, it'd be a real sign of strength. We'll be targeting the swing high here and then the one above here at 3,981.56. Now, moving on to Euro USD, we can see obviously we had a very, very strong dollar resurgence. If you take a look at the DXY, you can see that really looking to kind of get itself back into bullish structure as well. Obviously, we use that as a little bit of a proxy for where the money's flowing, but with Euro USD, we can see we've gapped underneath this. We'd highlighted this gap previously, looking for this to provide support, which it did. Unfortunately, price is now gapped underneath this, and we can see price now working its way down to this lower gap here, which was inverted. So we now expect this to offer some kind of support, but I imagine that that's going to be the draw on liquidity down there. Looking at it on the daily, we can see that we also have this low sat here, which is definitely of interest. So we've got our higher time frame level here on the weekly, which we're looking to add support, and we've got this low here. I'd like to see a run of this low, and then really if we close and displace below this, then probably looking for a short pullback and more downside. We obviously need to keep an eye on the DXY here as well to see how hot the dollar is running. Onto USD JPY, we've been looking at this one slightly differently. We've been looking at the key mother bar and inside bar here, which make up the inside bar pattern. Now, like with any range, we're looking at this from a point of liquidity. And actually, when price came above here, you're always asking yourself the question of whether this is a deviation and price is going to step back within. But actually, price tried to get back within the lower range here, which is the inside bar high and inside bar low. This is a really nice kind of long downside wick for the bulls, right? So we see this. We've obviously got the Japanese, we've got the yen rate decision coming up as well in a couple of days. But at the moment, this is quite a bullish finish for me. The fact that we couldn't close back within the range shows a bit of strength. So we'll move to the daily again to just get a little bit more of a granular view on this. Now, what's interesting that we've covered on other assets, and yes, this is a very small gap, but we can see how it's been capping the market here. Now we've got this close above, I'm actually looking for price to expand higher and look to take out this high here at 157,472. Sorry, so that's 157,472. Now, looking at gold, we can see again, we start here on the weekly. Now we've got this low here sat within this gap. This is a key area that we're looking for support. The expectation is for price to kind of come down for liquidity either below the prior week's low or this key low down here. At the same time, expecting this area to offer strong support. Again, if we close below this, then I think we're looking to make a run at the low, which is down here, sat at 2,146.08. So as we take a look at this now on the daily, we haven't closed this here yet, but should we close in and around current price action, we can see that we'll have this gap. Now, like we said, on the weekly scale, I'm expecting price to come down and take out this, right? We've taken the price swing low, we displaced below it. If we set this, then this is a prime area for price to pull back. We can look to fill some short positions there and target the low. Like I say, on a weekly scale, if we start closing below this, then I think we could come down to this relatively quickly. However, invert this and close above, then we've got the swing high set here. But then as importantly, or even more so, in terms of it being a key draw on liquidity, this level at 2,450.04. So I'd like to close up today by taking a look at the equity markets with a focus on the NASDAQ. Now, on a weekly scale, we can see how this weekly gap held really, really well. Long downside wick closing back within, and we had this nice expansion to our previous target, which was the swing high set at 19,023.25. Now, while we failed to kind of really displace well above this, I do like the way that this area seems to be getting used as a kind of resistance to support flip. So it's worth keeping an eye on that. Now, moving down to the daily, we can see the strong reaction that we had at this gap here. Almost a little bit like this expansion that we saw on Ethereum. Now, price has dipped back into this and it's got itself back above. Really interested to see how the daily candle closes today, because currently looks like it's going to close as a bullish hammer candle, a pin bar with a short nose. Could well be an engulfing candle as well. Whilst we remain above this level, then I'm targeting higher prices, bearing in mind, we're looking to get back into price discovery here. So the level at 19,155 flat is looking really interesting. So that concludes our weekly outlook. Wishing you a safe and prosperous week ahead, and we look forward to seeing you over with us soon at BrightFunded.